Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, I'm so excited to celebrate with you today, my friend, Nathalia Maria. Now, I got to know Nathalia earlier this year. I kind of landed in Brazil by happenstance, and that same day she posted on my Instagram telling me she was in Brazil and sending me love, and it was just so synchronistic to meet her. And over the 3 months that I spent in Brazil, I got to know Nathalia as a brilliant astrologer who gave me amazing insights and really nurtured a love of a new country, of a new city, because I could feel how much she loved where she was from. And just her love from the stars and of the stars and how she connects that was so brilliant. And so now I am thrilled to announce that Nathalia is coming to Synchronicity University as part of the September 2023 speaker series. You've got a little time left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class to learn from Nathalia and others. And you're about to see just how lovely, how loving and brilliant she is. Nathalia, welcome. Thank you for being here.
I'm so happy and so honored, and yeah, it's extremely joyful, a little bit challenging because it's in English and it's not in the bar or on the beach, as we used to be.
Yes.
But yeah, it was beautiful since the beginning. I remember feeling the urge of telling you how you were important to me out of the blue, and 12 hours later you telling me you were just landing in dream.
Yeah, literally, like I had just landed. I got into the hotel and it was like nobody really knew. I wasn't telling people I'm going to Brazil because I didn't even really know until a couple of days before. And so a dear friend of mine, Aldo, he's Brazilian, but he was one of my best friends in England when I was a student there. He told me that he was in Brazil, and I said, I'm going to meet you there, because I'd said that to him so many times over the years. I'll meet you there. And then I always didn't come. And so then I said, I'm going to meet you there. And then I remember contacting him and saying, hey, I'm going to be there on Thursday. And he said, but I leave on Monday. And I was like, oh my God. But he said, don't worry, darling, you will love it. You will love Rio de Janeiro. I said, okay, fine. I get there. I'm so tired. I've been flying, all night from Germany. And then, I was in the hotel room just decompressing. And there's this long, beautiful message from you about how much you loved my work. And I was like, hey, I'm here. Let's meet tomorrow. And it was incredible how I felt in Brazil so much love, so much friendship, and you were the first. You were right there, and you opened that door before I even arrived at the door. You opened that door. So for that, I love you so much. And your English is amazing. What are you talking about? We had so many conversations, so I knew that you'd be up to teaching in English as well. That is a given. Yeah.
But it was beautiful, and it's beautiful to see your country through another person's eyes, right? And because you receive it back, and it was awesome because you really fell in love with it, it's not necessarily what happens when somebody arrives here. And sorvete de tapioca, which is like tapioca ice cream, which is wonderful ice cream we have here.
I had that ice cream every single day. I kid you not, every single day. It became part of my ritual. I would get up, I would go to the beach, and then I'd leave the beach. And before I went back, I got that cup of tapioca ice cream. And I have looked for it in Canada and I have not been able to find it. I found tapioca pudding, but it's not the same. It's not. No, it's not the ice cream.
No, when it's really we like to receive people around here in Brazil. It's a country that receives people with great enthusiasm. And the Carioca, which is the person who was born in Rio, is extremely, in general, proud of being a Carioca, of being a person who was born in Rio, and likes to show it and its beauty. And look how it's beautiful, and look how it's beautiful.
Yes,
So
yes.
I saw myself as an extremely Carioca person through your eyes too. Like, oh my God, I'm such a crazy girl from Rio.
No, you were like a wonderful. Yeah, I remember even on the first day that we hung out, and I remember you saying like, yeah, isn't this great? Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah, this is how we are. You see how that guy's acting? That's what we do. And I was like, okay. It was
like,
so nice.
It's the best thing there is, and the beach and the views, because the views are awesome, right?
Yes, yes.
The landscapes are unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great thing. So I really like it, and I really like our culture. And it's funny to see how you are, who you are when you are with a foreign person. And it always happens, I believe, when you know somebody who is from another state, even you get to see how much you are where you are from, right? And that's funny. That's funny.
Brazil is it has this thriving spirituality, and different expressions of that spirituality exist there. And I think astrology is just one part of it. Another thing about the spirituality that really impressed me was how deeply people feel connected to nature. Because ultimately astrology it's like a meta kind of nature, right? In the most large sense, we're connecting with the planets. This is a part of our nature in the world, or in the universe, I should say. But yeah, they feel such a connection to the water, to the land. And the other thing that I thought was really powerful, and I've traveled extensively. I love to travel. I have a Sag moon. According to TripAdvisor, I have walked 28% of this planet, and I'm very proud of that so far, just so far. And I'm not even halfway through my lifetime just yet. And it's so interesting to me that in Brazil, one thing that was so distinct is that in most places in the Americas, when slaves came to the Americas, they were forced to give up their religion. They weren't allowed. I mean, in some cases, violently not allowed. And now there is sort of a revival around that rootedness of spirituality, especially from West Africa, traditional spirituality from there. But it's kind of a new thing. It's a renaissance, if you will. But in Brazil, that was the only place really that they were allowed and able to continue their religion. And of course, it was shaped and touched by indigenous traditions as well. But it is alive. It is a tradition that is alive, that has continued, that has had a timeline without pause. And the samba music actually originating from the prayers of West Africa, I think that says a lot about how people are able to get in touch with some deep spiritual urge within to connect with nature and the environment, and more spiritual forces beyond just a singular, this is it. No, spirituality is an experience, and it's so much a part of life in Brazil.
I think it was not allowed properly. Obviously, it was forbidden. It was samba forbidden at a certain point. It was forbidden to play the samba on the streets. People went to jail lots and lots of times because of it. But somehow it survives in a very strong way. It never stopped, as you say. It never stopped being a reality of the communities, because you had a very separated ground where white people were one side and black people in another side, and of a house, of a neighborhood, it doesn't matter. So it was hidden, but it was always there. This spirituality was always there. In US, I think it survived through music. like the spirituals, and that become the jazz and everything like that. In Brazil, it is the samba, but it's also all the deities we read, which are really related to nature stuff. Like Oshun is the goddess of the rivers, Iemanjá of which is an Aquarian, uh, the ocean, and you have and they are like present in our songs, in our imaginary. It's not separated, and they are related also to the saint, to Catholic saints. So you have this way that they cross over. So it's extremely, it's kind of insane because it's extremely syncretic. It's extremely,
yes, that's it.
You go from one religion to the other, and it's okay. Lots of people go to the Catholic Church and go to the terreiro, which is the place of the religions of African origins, and they go to both places, and there is no issue. I have a friend who's a Jewish, which also goes a lot to terreiros. So you it's a Brazilian Jewish, so it's already like a lot of all the spirituality. It's like accepted somehow in lots of places. Not all of places. It can be a little misleading that to think that everybody accepts everything. It's not true. They are still persecuted, Black religious places, but well, it's at least now we have a conscience and a pride of being who we are in a more strong way, I think, and this is beautiful for real.
I love that you mentioned that it's not like utopia. We can't say that. I mean, I am looking at it from the lens of a foreigner coming into it with a different perspective. And I know that when you're from somewhere, you know that place very differently than when you are visiting. And it's just a whole different relationship. It's easier to have a romance than to have like a full-on committed relationship. And I think that's part of the difference. But I remember also talking to you about how safe I felt as a woman, how respected I felt as a woman, how amazing that was to me to feel that sense of freedom moving through the world as a woman. And, you and others pointed out, look, don't think that there isn't sexism here. Don't think that there aren't issues. But yeah, there is something very special, without a doubt. It doesn't have to be and is not utopia, but the spirit of the people and the feminine energy in a world where feminine energy can be so suppressed, so vilified, so denied, to see people embrace the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, to seek to find balance between those two energies. It made such an impression. It was so remarkable to me.
I think what makes it, it's something very special, really, the fact that we can go to the beach with our little bikinis, and that's totally okay. That's something
like nobody cares. That's the thing. Nobody cares. People of all ages, of all body types, of no one is leering. It is incredible how safe I felt getting sun on the beach compared to how unsafe I have felt in other places, completely covered. I mean, it was remarkable, the sense of safety and I saw all women have that.
Yeah, no, this is something that really showing your body. And this is really I think the native Brazilian thing, which is everybody naked, which is very hot place. It's a very hot environment, so we don't like clothes. And Rio, as less
It's
clothes,
practical.
better. So, and this is this is natural. In this sense, this is but obviously there is a lot of sexism, but through this thing of related to this thing of covering the body, we don't have so much, because it's really internalized, the fact that everybody's going to wear few clothes and hug each other. So you have this, and really hug each other. We hug each other. You saw that, right?
But
We
it
are
was
really
never creepy. It was never
no.
creepy. It was incredible. Like, people know and understand how to touch each other and hug each other from a place of like a genuine vulnerability. You know, it wasn't like someone was trying to take something or anything like that. So that was so fascinating too, the culture, the society. Of course, we were in Rio de Janeiro, as you mentioned. It's hot. So yeah, people are going to be wearing less and enjoying the sun more. But Brazil is so huge. It's one of the
Yeah.
biggest countries on the planet. And so the weather as well, if you go way south, it's a lot colder than it is sort of north of the country, if you will. And I wondered about astrology in the context of a culture, a space, a place where people are so connected to nature. What is that like for you as an astrologer? Because I will tell you, when I came to Brazil, and I remember you posted and I said something, I was shocked at how many people watch me in Brazil. I was shocked at how many comments I saw under photos that tagged me that said, "Oh my God, I'm her fan. You got to meet her." And I was like, wow, there's a lot of love in this country for me. I was very surprised. That was a lovely surprise. Although, yeah, I know most places, just about everywhere I go in the world, there is love. There are people who want to connect with me, but the abundance of that was surprising to me in Brazil. And so, how do you understand your country's, your region's relationship to astrology? How much a part of life is it? How accepted is it? How do you feel as an astrologer?
So there is, I think around here, the thing is, we are very spiritual, right? So there was this hippie movement in the 70s that was in the whole world. And I think at this point, astrology may have entered in the country in a more, in a stronger way than before. And never left somehow, because it was always there with the people that at some point like were more like hippie, and I believe I come from a very an environment in my family, my father and my mother, who liked musics and well, the culture, which were not the very straight one. So you got to know about crystals and the new age culture and all of that. And there is a renaissance of that in this moment here. And how we already have this very spiritual environment, as you said, I think it enters in a very easy way, because we already believe in everything. We already dress in white because of African culture, and New Year's Eve because it's the culture to to dress, and nobody even knows why. uh, Most of people don't know why they do that, and they think they are Catholic all the time, and they just realize that they are wearing white because it's a deity from the African pantheon. Why? What? And they don't know, but they dress the white in the New
Yeah, it's
Year's
a
Eve.
tradition. Yeah, it's
So
tradition.
and we are very spiritual, so I think that astrology has it's easy to like it's a very superstitious country. So it's like when there is this wave of astrology through the world in Brazil, people are like, oh yeah, now you are a Taurian, now you are, and everybody is talking about astrology now. It's funny. Sometimes people get a little bit in the both sides, as always, like people know nothing about astrology and are saying that astrology is science, which is something that I'm like, what? No, it's
Yeah,
not.
that's controversial. Yeah, yeah, I know.
And there is the other people who are like, oh, this is ridiculous, well, it's just
Yeah, that's everywhere.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, which is everywhere. But there is this prejudice against astrology. There is not against Catholic Church, for example, uh, which is kind of funny because they killed a lot of astrologers at a certain
Yeah,
point
you're
in
right. Oh
history.
my God. Yeah, that's true. I have said,
The bad guys were not the astrologers.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're so right, because I have said that there have been times in history when the world has been very hostile to astrologers. And some of those times were not even that long ago, right? Like I think about Alan Leo at the turn of the last century, and all the different constant lawsuits he had to go through. And of course, yeah, persecutions and all that stuff of astrologers going back further. I was just watching something literally yesterday about the Salem witch trials. I was watching about that whole culture at that time was so phobic to anything related to anything that would acknowledge the divine feminine in any way. And the thing is, astrology does that because two of the main planets are feminine, quote unquote, as a principle, but feminine energy. And when I say as a principle, I mean, we all have a sacred feminine, we all have a sacred masculine. I speak about them as principles for simplicity's sake, but we all hold that within ourselves and in our psyche. And so all of us have Venus. Venus was a feminine deity. All of us have the moon in our chart. The moon was a feminine deity as well. And so, yeah, isn't that fascinating?
It is half of who we are, right? We are not the sun without the moon. There is not. We are the two things. We can yin and yang, moon and sun, and this, I think that's something. The acknowledgement of this feminine. It was always related to women or science at a certain point in history, in which like planets were round and you cannot say that. But when not, like women were like are an archetype less than we would like, and that's my point with the class I will give. The planets are much more masculine than feminine deities related to the rulers. But even so, there is the feminine side is a fundamental side, and in a very monotheist and masculine world, it couldn't pass, right? It was it's a menace.
Yeah,
somehow.
You're so right. In a world where we are supposed to produce and fight and go and create, to say, no, I'm going to accept, I'm going to be still, I'm going to be open, I'm going to receive. Huh?
Yeah. To gaze the stars. It's like contemplation, right?
Right. Like, yes. Very principally feminine, quote unquote, as a principle, qualities. Yeah. I mean, look, we are very fortunate that we live in times where more people than ever before can acknowledge the depth and range of expression that they hold within them. One other thing I did want to mention that I loved about Rio was I don't think I have seen a city as positive towards people of different sexual orientations, people of different gender expressions. I mean, that level of safety and acceptance that I saw all around me for all kinds of people, that was also very beautiful. And I think that happens when we acknowledge the range of energies out there. When we're connected to nature, we understand that as part of nature, everything exists. And as part of nature, you're going to have like one extreme of the feminine, one extreme of the masculine, but in between, all of us are somewhere in between, right? Gender is an expression. For example, sexuality is also exists on a spectrum. And so it was just incredible to me to even see that. I felt safer as a woman, as a, traditional Venus conjunct moon woman, just seeing how people walked and felt safe and were able to express themselves. So yes, it makes so much sense that in a world where these old, quote unquote, old religions have been able to thrive, where there was this sense of acknowledging of all types of sacred energies, that you would see that reflected in society as well. So let me ask you this. What is it like as an astrologer in the Southern Hemisphere? So I know that Brazil, for the most part, and we were in Rio below the equator, and Australia is also below the equator as well. And so what is it like in terms of, because I think if you talk to people in the US, in Canada, in Europe, which is where most of my viewers are, we are so used to a paradigm in the Northern Hemisphere. So are there any adjustments that's made? How do you understand the difference?
No, people don't do the adjustments. And I think about it, and it's funny because it would be an argument to say that astrology is bollocks. That's something that, well, how spring is Aries, but it's also Libra. And I think, yeah, because it's an X, and you have and totally spring is Libra at the same time, you know?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow, you're so right. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
flowers everywhere. It's totally Libra season. So I actually, I think the cardinal signs, they have this magic about
interconnection.
them,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is the
magic.
interconnection. So you have always one inside the other, and the other expressing itself more. And the truth is, I feel like an Aquarian, and always felt like an Aquarian extremely. I don't feel like so much the season is the most important thing about the signs in this
Mm.
sense, somehow.
That's powerful. Yeah. And that's how it seemed as I met people who were into astrology, and then you as a professional astrologer. It seemed that way, that there was this consistency that was very powerful. But I know that some people don't always stick to that. But it's good to see that that is something consistent. And yes, knowing you as I know you, you are very Aquarian. I'm an Aquarius, you're an Aquarian. We are very Aquarian people in our own ways, for sure. Okay, so I know that your upcoming class for Synchronicity University. So once again, you guys, it is Nathalia who is part of the September 2023 speaker series. You've got a limited time to choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class. And Nathalia is going to be teaching on the myths around the 12 signs. And there are some myths. I mean, I know for me, I'm really big on the myths around the planets. I'm very passionate about that. There are certain established myths around the different 12 signs, but then you take it even further. You're like, hey, I know that this might be a myth, but we can also consider how this speaks to this sign and this speaks to this sign. And so during the class, you'll go through the 12 signs, but I thought, let's do one right now so that people who are watching, they get value, they feel like they understood at least one sign more deeply. Let's start with the most intense, the sign that would say, no, you got to do me. You got to start with me. And that is, that is Scorpio. Let's start there. What can you tell us about Scorpio? What have the traditional myths been? How have you found that energy?
So Pluto is related to Hades and to the Greeks, and is the realm of the dead people, which are there like a little bit like zombies, I feel like. And normally we talk about Pluto as this guy related to transformation because it's death, but and everything in the circle of life, and so on. But I think Persephone, who is the girl who is always there when somebody goes down there, and Hercules goes down there, and I think Ulysses goes down there too, Psyche goes down there. Who is the hostess of hell, which is not hell, but it's only the land of the dead. But who is the hostess of hell is Persephone. She is the one who is always there when somebody goes there. And she is the only goddess which, besides Mercury, which is Hermes, who can go come out of the Hades come to the Earth and the Olympus. So she can do all this movement, which is basically, I think, the movement that I think people talk little about, the movement of Scorpio, which is being able to go down there, but then come back to be with others, you know. Because usually there is this bad rap about Scorpio that is only down there, only down there. And I believe in the divine Scorpio, which is this
It's all
ability of
divine anyways. Yeah.
yeah, but this to know you're down there and then be able to come back as the seasons are begin to happen, because Persephone is going to the Hades, and this is the moment when Demeter, which is her mother, gets sad, and there is winter on the earth, and when she comes back is spring. And because while Persephone is down there, Demeter is sad, and she's with her husband, which is Pluto, which is Hades. But I think Persephone is, it's interesting to have this take with a feminine expression, obviously feminine because she's a feminine character, but having a little bit of this archetype transformed in a feminine way, which is being able to restore yourself and going through your stages, like we have to go as human beings, I believe, in our lives, to go inside, to be able to go outside, to find our divine, you know.
Wow, that's beautifully put. You have to go inside sometimes in order to find the divine. And we so vilify the underworld, right? We so say, like, oh, that is so, but the truth is that is where we find a lot of spiritual power. We can find spiritual power in all kinds of ways, but there's something about knowing that we can go deep within ourselves, in our psyche, in our spirit, in our journey, that we could get to those places of essentiality, of truth, of understanding what is superficial, but what's really happening underneath. There's something about that that is part of a path of authenticity. And it's so interesting that I hadn't conceptualized or thought of before. And you said it, like, in so many stories, when the different gods or deities go to the underworld, Persephone is playing host. Like, she's there. As much as they talk about, Hades / Pluto, the underworld, the gates of hell, right? They love to talk about that. Persephone is there, able to also receive people and maybe say, hey, do you want something to drink? How are you doing? Yeah, Hades is right over there. Don't worry about that. So yeah, isn't it powerful that she represents so much of our understanding of the energy of Scorpio itself, the ability to move through worlds, right?
Yeah, and the ability that nobody else has this ability. Like Zeus cannot go down there because he will. But she can, and this is like Mercury can go down there. Like, it's the language. This part of us, which is language, can go down there to come back also. But she is this being, which is our, I think, our inner self, which may be able and has to be able to go down there and know that it doesn't need to die because it's in our own hell. We need to go. Sometimes we go down there because we are in our own depths, and we don't need to die because of it. We need to let something there to come back to the earth, to be with each other, and to try to find some transcendency, I believe.
Wow, that's a
alongside
beautiful
each
way.
other.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. Like, we go to the underworld ultimately to transcend it, to know ourselves as more, to elevate ourselves. And I think of Scorpio as the life, death, rebirth cycle. And it's so interesting how you pointed out that it is Persephone that exemplifies that in her ability to move through worlds.
And there is another interesting thing about the Hades, I think, like Psyche goes down there too, and to find her own humanity and immortality. Like Hercules going down there to finally become the human being, complete being he must be. So going down there is like essential part of being completely human being.
Yes, you're
You
so
cannot
right.
not go avoid the down there. It's like it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You avoid, you have to have this ghosts and these triggers all around, and everything is going to make you afraid because you didn't face it, like this thing that, who said it, that the treasure is in the cave you most fear. Like
Wow,
oh,
that's
it's
amazing.
you have to go to find the treasure down there. So it's scary. It's like Pluto entering Aquarius. I think we are feeling that, right? As Aquarian, Aquarius people all around.
Yes. I did
Like
not like
Pluto.
that. We had 2 months or something of that Pluto dipping into 2.5 months, Pluto in Aquarius, and that was not fun. I will tell, I did not enjoy that. I know I'm an astrologer. I'm supposed to tell you how everything is perfect and beautiful and it's okay and you can, and I know
Was
like now I'm like,
terrifying.
okay, I can use it now next time because next time is coming in the new year. I'll be more proactive. I'll figure out what I can do with it, but it sucked. That was hard. Those 2
It
months.
was really
It's like,
hard, but I don't know
oh,
if you remember that I said it to you. I was like, I am terrified, but I never felt so powerful. There is
wow.
something
Yeah.
about the power of our depths, you know, our like
Mm,
our guts. It's that like go with your guts. It's about, you have to connect to this survival part of yourself. And not by chance, Mars is related also to Scorpio, and is also about survival, right? It's about
mm.
like being born, like being alive. So there is this thing about being alive in a radical way, and I think this is part of and that's why it's so scary. Making this movement is very scary, and I think this is extremely Scorpio, but it's also a Pluto thing. I think it's part of the Pluto journey. uh Going inside, you cannot escape the the roots of yourself when it's crossing your sign, so you're going to experiment it again.
Like it or not. Yeah, so you might as well just get the Aquarians out there need to get comfortable. We can ask some advice from the Capricorns. So anyone who's a Capricorn watching this, maybe down below you can put some of your survival strategies, best tips for moving through Pluto, as Pluto's been moving through Capricorn since 2008. So most people watching this who are Capricorns have some understanding of what's been happening to them. I think the
I
Aquarians are going to
have a
need
Cap
that.
moon, so I
Oh
am
yeah,
like in a yeah, I am in
yeah. I
a
bet
like,
it's yeah. I know. I know.
I'll do
I
it all
mean,
again.
you would. I mean, I have a
I
Sag
know,
moon.
I am going to do all again. So because I don't
Wow.
have choice, it's like it was
Yeah.
in my moon now. But I felt a lot in the beginning of Capricorn, and then when it was conjunct my moon. And now I think it's going to be alike. I think when a planet like that enters a sign, you feel it like instantly, and
Mm.
then you will feel it when it really reaches your sun or moon or a rising sign, which are more like we are more sensitive to these conjunctions to the others. But I believe it's going to be a crazy ride in the beginning, and then it's going to be less crazy. And then when it's conjunct my sun, it's going to be crazy again. I hope so, because it cannot be so intense all the time, right?
No, no. And also, I mean, I am encouraged by the fact that we are going to have like Uranus and Pluto pretty much trine each other within orb of a trine for about 10 years. I mean, that has started kicking in now, that trine. And so that is encouraging. But I remember Pluto in Sagittarius conjunct my moon. That was brutal. It was not an easy transit, but on the other side, I got myself in a way that I would not change for anything. I mean, nothing. It just gave me in a way that I didn't even know I never had. And I'm going to try to remember that when I'm going through.
That's what I felt. It's the deep work, because that's why what these guys are about. Like he and her wife, Pluto and Persephone, is about. It's the deep work. You have to do this. It's so almost Saturnian in the sense that you don't have escape. They are there. Like you're going down there, and you don't have a choice. So when you encounter those planets, you don't have a choice. So let it go, make the frozen girl.
Yeah.
and go down there, do what you must do. And I agree with you. I think I encountered myself, and these transformations are extremely powerful. And every time you come out of them, you come like in the Tower card, right? In the tarot, you come better. I do believe that when you find yourself in a radical way, but it's hard. It can be hard. I think that after having experienced like the moon and the age we are, like the older we get, this kind of movement becomes easier in the sense that it's less alien, you know. You know how it's to go down there if you went one time.
Yes.
It's less terrifying than if you have never been there and accepted the change, because the transformation, like changing, is necessary to be alive and being a better person. Like it doesn't have as you have to change, like evolving is changing. So like sometimes it's more painful, sometimes less painful. The wisest you are, the more Phoenix you are, the more Persephone you are.
Yes.
The first time she went down there was probably the worst.
Oh yes, you're probably right.
She goes every year, and every year we go through Scorpio and have to let go something behind ourselves. So it's just a little bit on steroids, this trip.
Oh yes, but that's okay. Yeah, I've had a few Pluto conjunctions in my life, so you'd think I'd be prepared. But I also think that we just got over Saturn in Aquarius, and we were okay. So I keep reminding myself, like, Saturn in Aquarius, you know, okay, I'm okay, and lots of good things happening with Saturn in Aquarius as well. Lots. So let's stay positive. Let's hope for the best. Let's just dive into the underworld with great enthusiasm and passion and depth and all the wonderful lava we could swim in together. It'll be so much fun, won't it? And we could be hostess.
That we don't need to stay there. It's not because you are there that you need to stay there. You don't need to die. You can't come back. You just need to pay there is this coin that you have to give to the boatman and you just have to pay for it, you know, to let something there to come back. And there are things that we have to pass that are in our lives that don't have space anymore for them, like things that we thought we could not live without them, but we can, and we must sometimes. It's dying a little bit to reborn. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not. But I am laughing because I'm nervous, but I am also
I'm right there with you.
I'm also excited because I think this moments in which we connect to our power of you must choose to be alive to come back at the same time. So and this is a powerful choice because you deserve to be alive. I went down there, so I deserve to be alive. That's when Psyche comes back from there. She's with her her beauty box that she went to catch for Aphrodite, because it's one of her tasks that Aphrodite gave to her in her myth, which is another myth. But when she comes back, she's like, I deserve this box, you know. I took this box and I deserve this box. And because that's it. It's terrifying, but you become, I think, with a sense of loving for yourself, because you are able to love the parts that were rejected, even for your own self, which is much worse than being rejected by the world in the end, as we know it, right? So these parts that we reject, we must be at peace with them and come back from this journey as like, okay, I didn't like this part about myself, but now I'm going to try to be better and to forgive myself. I think it's about forgiveness also, because if you don't forgive yourself, you're going to be with your shame there, locked in the underworld, you know. And we cannot do that to ourselves. We need to love ourselves in a very radical way. And this is I think this is the lesson of Pluto and Scorpio, like love yourself in a radical way, and knowing that sometimes you have to let something go that was really, really part of you. And you thought you could never live without it. And I got really profound like that.
I love it. Yeah, no, it's amazing. That's what we're here for. We're here for you to be profound. Do it. Si se puede. Yes, you can. Yeah. Well, everybody, you see how brilliant my friend Nathalia Maria is, and she is coming to Synchronicity University for a limited time. You choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class as part of the September 2023 speaker series. Nathalia, I love you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to your class. I adore you. And thank you, everybody out there, for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.